Hi everyone, welcome back to another monthly update video. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, even if it was spending time with friends and family virtually this year. I know I personally had a great one and I'm ready to finish the year with a bang. This month's video, I apologize for being a little bit late. I had some technical difficulties with editing and my sound and video. I don't want to bore you with the details, but hopefully this one will work out, so I had to re-record it. So I guess better late than never. But nevertheless, this month's video, we're going to go through a little bit of an update related to announcement that we made just right after I recorded my last video with the announcement of our position in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. In addition to that, I'll go through and show off our new AP33. I know we've talked about that in the past, but I actually have one that I can show you guys now on video. And then we'll go through and explain the new firmware version that we now have selected for RC1. So we'll talk about that, and we'll finish off the video discussing a new feature we have, which is Bonjour Gateway. Again, shortly released after my last video, but nevertheless, I want to go through and explain it and how to configure it so you know what it does. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, and let's talk about the Gartner Magic Quadrant. So this was released for the wired and wireless portion just shortly after I recorded my last video at the end of October, beginning of November. We're really excited about how we were positioned, and we couldn't have done this and positioned where we were if it wasn't for our customers and partners. So thank you very much for your support, and of course, obviously allowing us to build a product that will get us into the network of the next decade. So we're really excited about that and how we're positioned. So we are listed now in the leader quadrant of the Magic Quadrant and the highest ability to execute versus the other vendors. So we're really excited about that positioning. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of gory detail about the Magic Quadrant. I'll actually provide a link in this video in the description so that you can see another video that Sadir Amada, our VP of products, recorded shortly after the release. He goes into a little bit more gory detail about the quadrant and a little bit of the company history. So again, for those that aren't aware, we are positioned very well in the Magic Quadrant for 2020. So we're really excited about that. If you want to learn more, like I said, that video will be available, and you can actually go to a website and obtain a copy of the actual Gartner Magic Quadrant if you wish. So enough of the Magic Quadrant. Let's move on and talk about the AP33. So the AP33 and the AP32 are one of our newer models that we have positioned, and I've talked about them before, so I'm not going to get into a lot of the technical detail, but I haven't had the ability to actually show you one. So I actually have one to show you, and shockingly, it looks very similar to our existing AP41 and 43. As a matter of fact, I have a 41 for a size comparison here. You can kind of see this is the 33, this is the 41. You can kind of see the size comparison is almost identical, a little bit thicker in the 41, rather a little bit thicker than the 33, but nevertheless the AP size is about the same, and the AP33 does use that same type of mounting bracket. So all of the brackets that we have, the universal bracket and everything, will work with the 33. So that's the AP. I mean, it looks just like the other ones, but I just wanted to show it to you so you know that it is actually a real access point. We are shipping it, and customers are purchasing it. The difference between the AP33 and the AP32 is that the 32 does not have our patented Bluetooth Low Energy location array inside of it. It just has one omnidirectional BLE antenna. So if you're interested in doing locationing, you would want to consider the AP33. Also, the AP32 has external antennas, so you could utilize additional patch or different types of antennas for different types of deployments with the AP32. Otherwise, the same specs hold true. It's a 2x2 spatial stream 2.4 radio with a 4x4 spatial stream 5 gigahertz 802.11ax access point with our third radio we use for sensing. And that's it. That's our latest, in addition to the wall plate AP, the AP12, those three APs would be our latest addition to our family. So we're excited about the AP32 and 33. If you need any more information, obviously let us know. We'll be happy to provide that to you. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about actually is firmware. So with firmware, we have a new RC1 that was tagged just recently. Actually, I'm actually glad that it took me a little bit longer to record this video because I could actually update you guys with the new version of RC1 that we just recently tagged. So this is the most recent version of .7. This would be my recommendation for customers to upgrade to. It's a very stable release. We have lots of customers running it. So I would recommend you do upgrade to RC1. That's technically, let's see, it's a .7.20383, and that has all the latest enhancements and bug fixes, and all that stuff has been included into that .7 RC1 release. Again, very stable. Would recommend that you do upgrade your APs to that release. Now, you may notice that there are some .8 versions available on the dashboard. Really not really necessary to upgrade your AP41s or 43s to .8 unless you're doing testing or implementing Hotspot 2.0. That would require 8 version of firmware, but if you're not doing anything with Hotspot 2.0, no real reason to upgrade your 41s or 43s to .8. However, the AP32, 33s, and AP12s will require the .8 version, so the most recent release of .8 for those hardware platforms would be recommended. Otherwise, everything else on the RC1 would be my recommendation. Stick with. Again, we've seen a lot of success with that version of firmware, and it has a good feature set available for you. So the last thing that we'll talk about here today would be Bonjour Gateway. So let's talk about Bonjour Gateway. It's not a brand new feature. Other vendors have released and have had a solution for Bonjour Gateway for a while. We're doing it a little bit differently. But let's talk about what the basic premise of Bonjour Gateway is. And essentially what this is listening for Bonjour or MDNS traffic that we're hearing on one VLAN and then rebroadcasting it on another VLAN so that other devices that are on a separate subnet would be able to hear those devices. So traditionally, our competitors would just hear that traffic and rebroadcast it onto a different VLAN. Pretty straightforward, and it does work, but it doesn't scale very well. So what we've decided to do is kind of do more of a controlled mechanism of deploying Bonjour Gateway and figuring out, can we set up some restrictions to limit the amount of multicast traffic that's coming from Bonjour and MDNS. So that's not overwhelming the network and causing a lot of confusion as to which devices should be connected to. So essentially, we're implementing a strategy where we're going to control who, what, and where can hear that MDNS or Bonjour traffic. First and foremost, we want to be able to filter the Bonjour traffic to say that only certain types of users, for example, a student versus faculty or employee versus contractor, would be able to hear Bonjour traffic. So we would enforce this with user group membership passed down by a radius server. And then we could then know the difference, of course, between an employee and a contractor or a faculty member and a student. And that way, for example, we would allow all faculty and staff and students to be able to print, but only faculty members to be able to utilize AirPlay or some other type of solution like that, and vice versa with employee and contractors. I think you get the idea. Of course, the other filtering capability would be based on SSIDs, so that only certain SSIDs would be able to utilize Bonjour Gateway and others maybe not. So we can kind of control who has access to it that way as well. The other is what. So rather than just hearing all MDNS traffic or Bonjour traffic and just broadcasting it out onto another VLAN, we want to be able to control what those users can see. So we're actually setting up a pretty robust list of applications built into the product that will allow us to filter what services are going to be rebroadcasted. For example, AirPlay, AirPrint, and other services like that, we'll be able to control whether or not we're sending that traffic to the other VLAN or not. Now, we do have a long list of applications that are available, but you can actually build a custom application signature as well if there's something in the list that we don't have, and I'll show you that in a moment. And then finally, and probably the most powerful, is being able to control where that traffic is being sent. So again, rather than just simply broadcasting it out to all of the devices on a VLAN or all to another VLAN, we could control that traffic is only sent out to a specific site, which is pretty simple, honestly. But what gets more interesting is being able to control that traffic to a certain floor or even a certain AP. So that way only users that are connected on a certain floor would be able to hear that Bonjour MDNS traffic if it's enabled, or only devices that are connected to the same AP will be able to hear that Bonjour MDNS traffic. So that way, for example, if I'm a student and I'm in a school, I wouldn't hear all of the Bonjour traffic for the entire school when I try to find a device to click to for printing or AirPlay. It would only be the devices that are connected on the same floor as me or on the same AP as me. So that's a quick kind of explanation on Bonjour implementation with Mist. Let me get in and actually show you how to configure it, because it's really straightforward, but I want to at least kind of walk you through that. So I'm here in the SSID configuration. Whether you're doing it through a config template or if you're doing it on individual SSID bases, the setup of the SSID is nearly identical. When we scroll all the way down to the bottom of the SSID configuration, you'll see that there's an option now to do Bonjour Gateway. So all we have to do is enable that feature, and then you'll see all of the services that we have built into the system to determine whether or not we're forwarding that traffic on or not. So the more common ones, for example, AirPlay, AirDrop, AirPlay, AirPrint. Those are some common, protocols that are utilized mainly with Apple devices, and obviously we have Amazon as well. Google Cast, Apple HomeKit, the list goes on. You can see all of the high-level services that we've seen most customers utilize. We've built in, but if there is a custom service that you have, you can just do a quick packet capture, find out the information you need for that service name, and go ahead and put that in here, and then we can implement the same restrictions. So when we set up the services, you now have the ability to determine, again, is this discoverable? Are these services discoverable for all the APs that are a member of the same site, or all of the Bonjour traffic that's only being sent within that single access point? So this would mean that an Apple TV or printer or other wireless devices would be connected to that AP wirelessly, and then we would be able to basically restrict that Bonjour traffic to only be presented or discoverable for those devices that are connected to that same access point wirelessly. And then the other option would be floor plan. So that way all of the APs that are a member of the same floor plan within the Mist dashboard would then be able to hear that MDNS Bonjour traffic. So rather than the whole building with multiple floors, we could restrict it to a single floor plan. And you could kind of get fancy, I guess, with how you do the floor plans if you wanted to isolate traffic to a certain wing within a floor. Even if you are, say, for example, a school that's a single floor, you could basically slice your floor plan up into different areas or wings and say this is the east, this is the west, this is the north. And even though it's the same floor, a single floor, you could then do different floor plans within the Mist dashboard to restrict that traffic only to certain areas of the building. So maybe only first and second grade would be able to hear one another, or the science department versus the English department, or however you want to do that. You could then slice and dice the floor plan up to be other floor plans so that you could control that traffic that way. And then finally is the discovery VLANs. So by default, we are going to listen for VLANs that are configured on the WLAN. More than likely, you may only have one VLAN that's configured for the SSID. So it's important to make sure that you're adding in the other VLANs that you want to discover devices on if they are, for example, maybe wired Bonjour devices or MDNS devices that are on a different VLAN. You would want to add in those VLANs here in the discovery VLAN. But that's it. Once you enable the Bonjour Gateway service, that's all you have to do, and all the filtering and whatnot is done directly here in the SSID config. And as I mentioned earlier, this is all configurable on a per SSID basis, so each SSID can be configured differently from one another if you wish to do that. So that's basically it for this month. I wanted to go through kind of a high-level update on what's going on. Always remember that all of the updates that we're doing on a monthly basis are available in the dashboard in the feature updates section, and that way you can get more information on what we're actually doing from an update perspective. And obviously in the email that I sent this to you, I kind of gave you a high-level update on what we're doing for what was released here in the last month. Going to try to send another video by the end of the month, or actually by the end of the year. We'll see. Lots of stuff going on. I'm not sure if I'll be able to make that happen. So just in case I'm not able to do another video, I hope everyone has a great holiday season. Stay safe and healthy, obviously, and a happy new year, most importantly. And if I don't talk to you before the end of the year, I'll definitely see you next year. And maybe if I can, I'll get that other video out to by the end of the year. But otherwise, obviously, if you guys need anything, feel free to reach out. But until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks.